High-grade Universal Sentry, Penelope. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Continuing on part 2 of our 3-part series, we will be taking a look at the mobile suit that's covering the other half of the box art, the RX-104FF Penelope, shown in the recently released Gundam Hathaway movie. The standalone Penelope was released in October of 2019, but the one I am currently reviewing is from the effects set that was released in April of 2021. Having watched the movie, you could definitely see how unique of a design the Penelope is. And from what I can tell, this model kit is a perfect representation. And to just change it up a bit, before we look in depth into the Penelope, I'm going to be stripping it of all its armor and revealing what it's underneath. Introducing the 1/144th scale Odysseus Gundam. Yeah, if you didn't know, there was a Gundam underneath all that. And in my personal opinion, it looks pretty good. Being mostly white, I highly recommend you panel line this kit, just to help break up all that white. And in terms of colored part separation, it has a little bit, mostly in the torso area and the forearms. We got a little yellow and gray on the legs, but it's mostly a white kit. The Odysseus could definitely benefit from a good paint job. In terms of design, this kit definitely has a unique look to it. It sports a very big crest on its head, for a Gundam at least, a unique type of armaments on its forearms that we will go in depth later, a pair of stabilizers attached on its legs, and a massive butt skirt. The Odysseus is a very cool and interesting looking kit. It's a shame you have to cover it up when you transform it into the Penelope. But since it's not in its bulky Penelope form, we can check out the articulation. This way it's not too hindered by the Penelope's armor. As always, beginning with the head, from a side view we have this much of an up and down movement. Excellent. And from a frontal view, very good. It's unfortunate though, you can see that little ugly part under its head, but whatever, disregard that. Side to side pivot, very good, very loosey-goosey, and it has a pretty good range of motion. Head could 360, no problem. And we got a great giggity neck extension, similar to the Kasi. Moving to the arms, the shoulders can actually extend. This is for when it combines with the flight unit to make the Penelope. This mechanism unfortunately prevents the shoulders from internally rotating though, just to let you know. And the arm could do a perfect 360, no issues there. We have this much of an abduction of the arm, kinda inhibited by the forearm equipment and the shoulder piece. Also, that piece can move up and down. The upper bicep could perform a 360. Excellent range of motion out of the elbow bend. Also, interestingly enough, the arm could bend backwards. Yeah, kinda gross, but it could do that. And the lower part of the arm could perform a 360 rotation. And like all hands, it could do a 360 and has a slight wrist bend. And as we move on to the torso, it cannot perform a full rotation just because there's this plastic piece in the back, and that piece sits right over its butt, so it can't turn that much. The ab crunch and back extension is excellent, as is the side bend. Even though it can't perform a full rotation, the torso has excellent range of motion. Front skirts are one solid piece that can hinge up and down, and the cod piece can open for when it combines. The side skirts are attached on a ball joint and also a hinge, so it has good rotational movement and also can hinge up and down, though very slightly. And for the back skirts, I'll just leave that piece off. As you can see, these back skirts are very large and they kind of look like a beetle. They are also on a ball joint that gives them really good movement, but if you twist it too much, it can pop right off them. So be careful. Next up, we got the splits. And if you look up at this crotch area, you can see the hole for the adapter. Also, the legs can come off, so be careful how much you spread it. The legs can do a full rotation, though a little tight. Excellent double knee bend. Range of motion on the hip allows it to kick this high and kick this far back. Also, I need to mention that the hip joint is actually one solid piece, and moving one leg would affect the other. Oh, this is good, you can have a clear view of it. I believe it's a solid hip piece because you need to replace it with another piece when you actually combine it. And coming down to the ankles, we have these really cool stabilizers. I am not sure what it's actually called, but this will definitely assist in balancing when it becomes the Penelope. And it's on a simple hinge joint that goes up and down. As for movement in the ankles, we have this much of a dorsiflexion and this much of a toe bend, similar to what you saw in the Kasi. And the ankle could pivot this much side to side. Can't do a 360 though, just because of that ankle armor. And in terms of articulation, the Odysseus Gundam, by itself, pretty good for a high grade. Only limiting factor being the rotation of the torso and the movement on the ankles. Alrighty, with the articulation done, let's move on to the accessories. Firstly, we have a pair of open hands, just your average design, nothing amazing to them. There's also a pair of closed fists, also basic design. And the last hand option is a trigger finger holding hand, of which only comes on the right side. And since it's the only hand that holds the gun, I left it holding the gun. This beam rifle design looks very unique and distinct. As you can see, there's enough colored part separation and details on this beam rifle to actually not make it look so bland and boring. Unfortunately, there are some colored correcting stickers that you need to use. Bandai could have easily just gave us red plastic pieces for this. Ignoring the stickers, pretty cool looking gun, very futuristic design. And to attach the hand to the gun, you have to actually disassemble the hand itself, then set the handle of the gun right into the hand, then just reassemble the hand, and there you go, solid connection. And to attach the hand, simply pop off the previous hand if it has it, and just pop in the new one. And next up for accessories, we have some beam effect parts. And you may be wondering, there's no holding hands for the beam sabers, and also no beam sabers. So where can these actually go? Located on each of the forms, we have this cool large shield thing. I don't really know what it's called, but there's a socket for them for the beam effect parts. A very cool and unique way of using your beam weapons. Makes the kit even more unique. And what's better than one forearm blade? Two blades. Just like how the Zealots in StarCraft do it.
My life for hire.
Another cool thing you can do with the effect parts is attach it to the rifle, simulating an actual firing pose. Pretty cool. On to the last accessory, we have an action base adapter. But because this kit is from the Funnel Effects set, it doesn't actually come with a base for this adapter. The standalone kit actually comes with the base. However, since this is not the standalone kit, it comes with a unique clear base, similar to one that the Kasi has. There is a purpose for this adapter though, it's for the flight unit, and I will show why it's so important later on. And similar to the Kasi, we also have a special adapter for this kit that goes along with that clear action base. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to be using this adapter. If you were to buy this kit separate, this would be the action base you would be using, and you would have to assemble it like so. Relatively easy, and you would just stick them on right into the hole underneath his crotch. Ta-da! And you know what, since he has all his equipment on, let's do the shake test. I do this so you don't have to. Huh. Not bad. Impressive. This kit is solid as a rock. And for some size comparison, here it is next to the Kasi Gundam. Pretty much the same size, for now. And keep in mind, these are 1/144th scale model kits. However, they're a tad bigger than kits normally their scale. And for reference, here is the Odysseus next to the entry grade RX-78-2, and keep in mind both are 1/144th scale. And here it is next to a real grade 1/144th scale new Gundam. The new is much bigger than the RX-78-2, but the Odysseus still towers over it. Next up, here's the Master Grade Mk2. It's pretty much a Master Grade size. And to compare it to something even bigger, a figurized standard amplified machine drum. Next up, high-end Master Model WildLiQWYD, Dreadnought, DK, Egbert. Pretty much being the same size as Master Grade, it has some pretty good shelf presence. But it does have a couple extras to make it special. And what would that be, you might ask? The important other half of the Penelope. We'll be taking a look at the fixed flight unit. It's a crazy and weird design, but I dig it. Used alongside the Odysseus Gundam, this combines together to make the giant Penelope. However separated, this kit has a presence of its own. And now since we're on the flight unit, I'll explain why this adapter set is so important. Main reason is it's the only one that fits the flight unit. The clear adapter piece you get in this Funnel Effects set doesn't fit in that hole, that's what she said. My guess would be this adapter piece is only when it's in its Penelope form. So if you want to display the flight unit separately, you're going to need that black adapter piece. The flight unit is a very interesting, different design. This is a very large kit in itself. Comprising mostly of white, this kit still has a lot of colored part separation, and a huge amount of panel lining opportunities, which I highly encourage you do. Doing this will bring out a lot of the details, and it will contrast well with the white. And as is, I would actually be willing to just display this by itself. The design is very unique, and with the size that it is very eye-catching. Time for some size comparison. So here it is next to the Kasi. Looks like I could give the Kasi a run for its money by itself. Entry grade RX-78-2, real grade new, Master grade Mk2, figurized standard amplified machine drum, high-end Master Model WildLiQWYD, Dreadnought DK, Egbert. And if I didn't emphasize the size enough, it is really big and it is really long. That's what she said. Presence-wise, the flight unit could easily be displayed by itself, and it would probably just take up a whole section. If you were to display this by itself, in terms of posing, it is pretty much non-existent. You only have one generic pose, and there is some minor articulation for some parts. Firstly, these giant panels on the side are able to move up and down, though very limited. These cannons have excellent range of motion. They're essentially able to bend 90 degrees, and they can rotate 360. The larger fin that the cannon sits on has some minor movement. Moving along to the back, the tail can extend and retract quite a bit. The tail also has some vertical up and down movement. This is actually very useful because while in the Penelope form, this can be used as a kickstand to offset the balance. And this top fin part can move up and down. And so that concludes all the articulation. Pretty much what you see is what you get. A very big brick of a model kit. But how solid would it be? Time to do another shake test. Before I begin, let's remove that action base. Dear God, I hope nothing breaks. Remember, I do this so you don't have to. Surprisingly, that went really well. Only 2 pieces fell off, but they're pretty easy to put back on, so not a big issue. And realistically, no one's gonna handle a model kit like that. So in my personal opinion, the fixed fight unit is solid. And now for the moment you've been waiting for, we're gonna be combining these two. Alrighty, let's get the show on the road. First, remove the flight unit off the stand. You see these bottom parts, that is for its feet. Pluck them off, pretty easy to do. Keep in mind there's a left and right side, so don't get them mixed up. And if you look at the Odysseus' feet, you can see some slots for the extended feet, I guess. It's pretty easy to put on, just slide the feet in and just click. The heel is just as easy. Repeat this on the other side. This gives them some massive clown feet. Next up, flip these stabilizers down. Good to have to help balance the Penelope. Next step, we'll be taking these thrusters off. They are very easy to pull off. You don't need to apply too much force, they come off pretty easily. You will also need to remove the top thrusters. Gently wiggle them out. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. And those 2 pieces you just took off will be going into the back of its calves. There's a slot and a peg here. Just pop it right in. Very easy. Same thing with the other side. It should slot right in without any hassle. Now you will be using the thrusters you took off at the beginning. This peg here will slide right into the socket. You should hear a click indicating that it attached properly. Hopefully. And that's it for the legs. Time for the skirt. Alrighty, you're going to be wanting to remove the wings. And now we will begin disassembling the flight unit, starting from the bottom. Remove this white piece, we'll be needing it for later. Next up we will be removing this gray piece. This part is a little tight, so just apply a little more wiggle to loosen it up. Next up we have this large piece that attaches to the front skirt. Once you remove it from the neck of the flight unit, just pull it through the bottom. Pieces might fall off, but it's okay, you could reattach them easily. And finally, we're just going to have to pull this gray piece off. Just apply some extra wiggle force. This piece pretty much holds the flight unit all together, so it's pretty solid in there. Keep this piece somewhere safe. You will be needing this if you want to display the flight unit. And since we just took the head and tail part off, the white piece that you removed earlier from the underbelly of the flight unit could slide right in between here. You will be needing to attach it anyway, so this way it just gets rid of more smaller parts that's lying around. Okay, now that we have the flight unit disassembled and its parts being everywhere, time to attach the skirt. Firstly, flip this cod piece down. This is where that front skirt will be attaching to. Keep in mind this is actually very easy to do, but I'm doing it on camera, so that's a lot harder. And once you're done, it gets even more ridiculous looking. But we are halfway there, almost done. To prepare for the next step, let's extend these shoulders, which is for the next part that attaches on the shoulders. However, before we do that, I will be removing these pegs off of these shoulder panels, and we will be attaching it to this chest piece. You will also have to remove this gray piece and attach the recently removed connector onto that piece and slide it back in. Do this on both sides, and I would have to say this is mandatory because it will make attaching the shoulder pieces much more easier. Before we attach the chest piece, I want to point out this adapter piece you will be needing. It's an important connector piece that will attach the chest to the skirt. It's best we attach this part right on the skirt first. This chest piece has 4 connection points, 2 on the shoulders and 2 on that piece I showed you. Line it up and click it in. You're ready to go. Might take a couple of tries though. And just make sure that pronged adapter piece connects to it as well. Once that's finished, spread out the back skirts. This will make the next step a lot easier. After you have attached the chest piece, there are 3 points of contacts you need to know. 2 pegs adjacent to his neck, and a piece that has a crevice for the next part to slide into. Pretty much once that piece slides in, everything will be in place. Should be relatively easy, and then you should be done that part. And once that's on, it'll make him pretty top heavy. So yeah, you can use the tail as a kickstand. There you go. We are finally on our last step to attach the shoulder pieces. This is actually very easy. The rear shoulder peg goes into this socket that we had to remove and relocate earlier. And the front shoulder armor also has a peg that needs to attach to, which is very easy to do. Rinse and repeat on the other side. And there you have it. And once you're done, remember to keep these plastic pieces. If you plan on displaying the flight mode separately, you're going to definitely need them. Also, I forgot to mention when I was taking a look at the flight unit, the beam effect parts can actually attach to the cannons for some pew pew action. Last thing you need to do is just to flip down this long neck. Remember to hinge it back slightly so then it gives more clearance for the V-fin. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce the Penelope. It's quite a hassle to combine both the kits, the Odysseus and the flight unit. But I gotta say, the Penelope, it's something special. It ain't gonna win any beauty contests, but it has a charm of its own. Surprisingly enough, nothing was falling off, so it never frustrated me. And despite the many steps of combining it, it was actually relatively easy. I had to consult with the manual maybe for like 3 times. However, seeing it slowly take shape was quite satisfying. And the end result did not disappoint. Piloted by Lane Aim, or Lame Aim, get it right. The Penelope serves as the antagonist mobile suit to our C Gundam. And if you watch the movie, the C Gundam also has a very unique design. But at least it looks like a Gundam. This thing is very different, and I quite like it for some weird reason. I've seen how other reviewers compare the flight unit to a chicken, but to me it's more like a swan. It's white, and it has a long neck. A very long neck. And to me it's kind of pretty. And also very, very big. I've shown how the Kasi is a very big kit, so get a load of this thing next to the Kasi. Keep in mind this is supposed to be a 1/144th scale high grade. These high grades here are big. However, the Penelope is something different. And here's what a typical 1/44th scale looks like. The Century grade looks like a kid next to it. And here it is next to a real grade new Gundam, which is also 1/44th scale, I might add. Here's the Penelope next to a Master grade Mk2, definitely closer in size. Next up here it is next to the Figurized Standard Amplified Machine 1, a kit of comparable size. Then we have the high-end Master Mod Wild Liger, then Dreadnought DK Egbert. So now you might have a perspective on how monstrous this thing is. I initially was not going to do the shake test for the Penelope, in fear that something will fall off and break. However, when I was combining the 2 kits to make the Penelope, no parts fell off. And so, that made me curious on how solid this build actually is. Alright, so I'm going to implement the shake test. Gotta find a solid point to grab. Hopefully nothing breaks. Please don't break, please don't break! Huh. Wow. The Penelope in this form is super solid. However, due to the sheer bulk, it loses much of its articulation, as you can already guess. So there's really no point for me showing the articulation in this point. Although this restricts its posing ability, you are able to put it into this weird flight form. First things first, let's put it onto an action base. Using the clear action base adapter, you just flip it up and stick it up its butt. Now peg that action base right up in there, be careful of that script falling off. And so we begin the transformation. First point the toes back. Now we move the back skirts out of the way. As we zoom in we can see some slots in the inner thighs, and this white piece with pegs on it, which will be connecting into those inner thighs. To connect this, you're going to have to swing both those legs back. Now try your best just to connect the legs to the white piece. Might take a couple tries. Once that's finished, just move and point the arms right back. And there you have it, I guess, a very dopey looking flight pose thing. Realistically, no one's displaying their Penelope like this. And there you have it for the review. On my final thoughts, I love this kit. It was really fun to build. It's definitely unique. Building 2 completely different kits and then mashing them together and making one monstrous kit was very fun. The Odysseus is your basic Gundam looking kit. Not much going on there, but the weaponry is very fun to play around with. The color and part separation definitely suits it. And it has great articulation. And in contrast, we have the fixed flight unit, which is definitely lacking in articulation and gimmicks. However, its size and design is very eye-catching. It's a kit I would definitely want to display by itself. And with the Penelope, you combine the 2 and you have a ridiculous looking mobile suit. It's unique, it's very big, and it has a presence. Now, should you pick this up, if you like the Gundam Hathaway movie, if you like this design, sure, go ahead. Despite being called a 1/44th high grade, it is very big, so keep that in mind. I would not recommend this kit for beginners though. There is a lot of parts and it might get a little tedious for you. Panel lining is a must, and you're definitely going to need a lot of shelf real estate for this. Whether you want just a standalone kit, or the Final Effects set which has the cassette and the Penelope, you can't go wrong. Hey, thanks for watching my videos. I hope you like it. I enjoy making it. I just gotta say, this video took a long time to make. It's like doing 3 reviews and jamming it to one, so. And so this concludes part 2 of my 3-part series. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Come back when part 3 is released. We'll be taking a look at the extra accessories that comes with the box, so stay tuned. Also, 69. Alright. Take care. Bye.